Well, we finally got it done. We finally found us a 52 Chevy we could use for parts for our Jewel project. This thing does look terrible, but it's got a lot of really good parts on it. This was found by a guy named Art Balcom, who took me out, showed it to me, and said, "Bill, I think I can get you that car for nothing," which he did. The lady wanted it off the property, and he got it for us for free. We've already used many parts off it for the Jewel already. Used the hood hinges, working on some interior parts. All these chrome parts are going to go on the Jewel. Some of the dash parts are going to go on the Jewel. And the most important part is back here. Now this is going to be a lot of work that I didn't really want to do because I didn't have enough time, being as how we're going into tourist season and I got to get back to my regular job. But it's okay. It's what we're going to do. But we're going to cut this out right through here, this whole back end. We're going to piece this all together and we're going to put this in the Jewel, and this is going to fix our quarters, which is all we have left to repair on the Jewel is right here. This is it. So that's the next project. When we last left you on our project, the car was not in primer. We didn't have the motor in it. It was just basically the body, and I was doing the body work on it. I had the front end done, but that was all. And as you can see now, I have installed the engine. I've made new motor mounts for it. Set the headers in to make sure they cleared. Had quite a tussle with it because the cross member on the rear was in the wrong place, and I had to cut that out and put in a new cross member. And nothing real difficult, just a lot of work. The front end fit real nice around the V8. I had to make trim a few pieces here and there. Firewall fit real nice. Didn't have to cut anything on the firewall, which you knew that was going to happen. The great thing about getting the parts car out there was these pieces that you see here we didn't have, and the ones that I did have were wrong. These were wrong, and so I've got the right stuff, got them in the right place, got the right hood hinges. I'm going to put the hood on now to make sure the hood fits. It's very important when you do a car like this, when you get a car like this that is in pieces, you must always, this is the 12th commandment, always put it together before you paint it. Even sometimes before you're going to put it in primer. I did the body work and stuff, got that all done. But when I put the doors on, these hood hinges were sprung to the point that this door stuck at least 2 inches out away from the fender. The hood hinges were bent very badly, so I did change the hood hinges, brought the door in where it belonged. As you can see, the door fits. Piece of cake now. Our next step, this is all we have left now for body work, is right back here. As I talked about on the parts car, we're going to cut this out of the parts car. We're going to weld this all back in, back to original. And then we'll get this all done. And then that will give me the opportunity to set the rear end back up where it belongs. Then I can make the drive shaft. Then I can hook up the emergency brakes. And I can start doing all that stuff to make this an actual drivable car. As we talked before, this area back here was really in good condition. The trunk had a lot of hail damage, and so did the roof, which just took a lot of work. It wasn't hard. This was real nice to put together to finish up. It was just a matter of smoothing everything up. There was a dent right over here that we had to repair. And what we're going to do now, and this is going to be the tricky part, this is going to be one great big red piece of tail light. There's going to be 5 tail lights on it, and 5 bulbs inside of here, and this will be red tail light plastic in here. So this whole thing will light up when you turn the lights on, which ought to be just awesome. And that's the next, as we move on, that'll be the next step before we get ready for paint. The last time we were doing a video, we did not have this done inside here on the dash, and this is all done now. And all I've got to do now is just a final prep, getting it ready for paint. This is going to be white pearl. The whole dash is going to be white pearl. The window moldings will be white pearl. That's the way Jim's car was. And then the outside of the car, of course, will be candy apple red. So we're going to paint this first before we do anything else. We're going to paint this dash. This will be the first thing we'll paint. I can't explain this the way it should be explained, but I believe there is a God, and I believe in divine intervention. But this just absolutely knocked my socks off, because this is impossible that this could have happened. This grill is the original grill that was in the Jewel in 1960. This is the original grill. And when I got this car, of course, we didn't have this grill. And of course, we had no idea where it was or what happened to it or who owned it or where it ended up or whatever. And I was stuck with the fact that I was going to have to make a new one. So last Saturday, I had a little time off. I was tired of working in the shop. I wanted to do something different. And so I've got this old bus out back that I've used for storing junk for 40 years. It's been sitting back there, and there's stuff in there that hasn't moved out of there in 40 years. And I thought, you know, now's a good time to clean some of that junk out of there. So I go back in the bus, and I start taking some of this junk out. And I'm working my way to the back, and I see this tube grill in the corner underneath all this junk. And I'm thinking, you know, we might be able to make that work in the Jewel. Maybe that's some sort of a Chevy tube grill or something, and I can make it work in the Jewel. So I go back there and I dig it out of all this stuff and I bring it in here and I set it in the hole, and I said, my God, that's the grill that came with the Jewel in 1960. Now, tell me how is that going to happen? What made me go in there and work in this bus that I hadn't even set foot in 2 years, much less go to the back of the bus and find this, just look at this grill and think, if you understand what I'm trying to say here. I mean, this is a very passionate moment for me because stuff like this doesn't happen. So I go get the magazine that's got the picture of it, and I'm looking at the grill, and I'm looking at the magazine, and I said, my God, that's right. So the next morning, which was Sunday morning, I put it up on the bench, I cleaned it up, I set it in the car. The car has still got the original brackets, and it bolted right in there. This was absolutely the original grill that came with the Jewel in 1960, that was in the Jewel in all those years of the car shows. That stuff just doesn't happen. Just doesn't happen. And so someone's telling me, Napoli, we want you to get this car done, and we don't want you to spend the next 5 years doing it. Let's get this thing on the road. And so let's just say it just got me just a little bit more jizzed on getting this baby put together. That's all there is to it. But this is an unbelievable story to have something like this happen. This is segment number 4 of the Jewel, and it's kind of heartbreaking right now because I'm going to have to let this go for a little bit. I've got to go back to work in my regular job. The Jewel, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it all together as much as I can. I'm going to push it into the paint booth, and I'm going to leave it there until I get back to it, because right now I've got to go back to work in the museum and get it ready to open for tourist season. So it might be a month before I can get back on this, but my next step, and we're far enough along to do that, is to do the final sand. What I'm going to do is I'm going to guide coat it, block it down, reprime it, guide coat it again, block it down, and then we'll be ready to paint. Mike and I are going down to talk to Rick at the body shop about painting it, and talk to Butch, and they've offered to paint it and are willing to help us with that. I'm pretty excited about that. That'll be a good thing. And so once we get this ready to go to paint, it will be just a matter of making everything work. But that might be in the fall. So it might be a month, it might be 2 before I get back to it. But it just depends on how my summer goes. So we will see you again the next time the Jewel is ready for some new action and we get some more stuff done. And have a good summer, and have a good spring, have a good summer, and stop and see us at the museum. We've got a lot of really, really neat stuff, and I always enjoy talking to you when you come.